Truck J here, Discuss Your Truth. Curtis Morley joining us today. Look, iantruckj.com has, you can find all my shows. I've been doing this now for close to 5 years. You can find all my shows, past guests, at iantruckj.com, through anchor.fm, iTunes, Spotify. I had a great list of various academic leaders, business leaders that have joined Discuss Your Truth over the years. Right now we bring on Curtis Morley. Next hour, folks. Next hour, Cassandra Spencer will be joining us from Texas to speak about her new book, and that'll be addressed next hour. Again, right now, bringing on Curtis Morley, the Entrepreneur's Paradox, ladies and gentlemen, bringing him on right now. Curtis Morley. Again, this is Ian Truck J for Discussions of Truth. Curtis, let's see.
Hey, Ian.
Hi there. How are you? It's great to speak with you, and welcome to Discussions of Truth.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely. Curtis, you are a very important figure in today's society in that you have built, I'll allow you to give an introduction of who you are. You teach, for listeners, introduce yourself if you would, please.
Sure. I am a serial entrepreneur, so I've started multiple companies, been very blessed in several of them, made every mistake possible in most of them, except for the last few. Finally figured out what's going on with business, with life, and how to really take business to the next level.
To a Mount Kilimanjaro level, right?
Indeed, yes. I climbed Kilimanjaro.
Now,
it's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny because I wrote probably 3/4 of the book before I climbed Kilimanjaro, and went up the big mountain. And they have a saying that if you can't go up without coming down changed, and it's absolutely true. I came down and I rewrote the entire book based on the experiences on Kilimanjaro.
No kidding. What was that's pretty drastic. What was the biggest experience that changed that? Was it like a philosophical approach, or what had the most profound effect on that?
Really understanding who I am as a person.
Wow.
And that gets tested 100%. I wish I could say that climbing Kilimanjaro was like something. Kilimanjaro is like X. But even though I've done half Ironman in Kona, qualified for the Boston Marathon, there is physically nothing I've ever done that can even come close to comparing to Kilimanjaro.
Wow, amazing. What about Everest? Is that on the list here for you?
You know, it's funny. So Kylie Chen, who is one of my friends, clients, she runs the travel expedition company that took us up there. She just put the bug in my ear to possibly go to base camp of Everest this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Curtis, you're a director of the Callhurt Initiative of Technology at the University of Utah. Is that a current position?
I am, yes.
And the CEO of the Entrepreneur's Paradox.
Yep.
What is the Entrepreneur's Paradox in a nutshell?
So the book that I wrote, The Entrepreneur's Paradox, goes along with the philosophy of the mentoring and coaching I do. And the paradox is that the thing that gets people into business is the very thing that will prevent them from succeeding at that business.
Okay. That's.
And,
I love it.
And you might, that seems odd, which is exactly it. Is that it is a paradox, and so if I can explain more, for example. Somebody might make the best cupcakes in the world with a cream cheese frosting, and they are just decadent and moist and delicious. And all their neighbors, are eating these cupcakes, and their friends and family. And they said, "Man, you have the best cupcakes in the world. I don't know how you put these ingredients together, but when you do, the product that comes out of this is incredible. You need to, can I buy them from you?" And they say yes, and they start selling these cupcakes, and then people are saying, "You need to start a business. This is amazing."
Yeah.
And they think, "Well, of course, I have the best cakes in the world. Why wouldn't I start a business?" And making a cupcake is a very different formula, very different recipe than making a business.
Yeah. I like the paradoxical spin that you're bringing for this to this this entrepreneurial kind of business building mind. Now, what I want to point out for listeners is that that Curtis served as the head of corporate and global marketing for a major global corporation. That would be Franklin Covey. Speak a little bit about that, if you will, for a moment, Curtis.
Yeah, you bet. Franklin Covey is an amazing company. Dr. Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the most important books of the last century. Incredible book, but the principles taught inside it are simply amazing. And Franklin Covey is, in my opinion, the premier leadership company in the world. They teach principles that work, and they truly are principles, meaning that they don't get sifted with the wind. They work in down times and up times and left and right times. They work.
Mm-hmm. What are the top 3 principles that Dr. Stephen Covey teaches that listeners could get from Franklin Covey? Not to sidetrack them, because of course the entrepreneurial paradox is what I want listeners to be concentrating on. But it seems like you've perhaps applied some teachings and learnings from your time with Franklin Covey to your own experience.
Yeah, one of the very first principles, Dr. Covey says, begin with the end in mind, and
wow.
That means know where you're going.
Yeah. Know
which mountain you're going to climb. And one of my favorite parts of coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs is an aha moment that they have when they realize that they don't have to be wrestling alligators every day. They don't have to be in the swamp. They can drain the swamp. And when they do, all of a sudden they are able to see that ahead of them is these beautiful mountain ranges. Mm-hmm. And because they've never looked up before, because they're always, if we go back to the cupcake analogy, they're always in the flour and the sugar, and they're making the cupcakes all day long. They've never had a chance to look up. And they've never said, where do I want to take this company? Where do I want this company to be? And entrepreneurs, they only have three destinations. There's only 3 mountain ranges they can climb. The first is a lifestyle business. The second is a buyer be bought strategy, so acquisition or merger. Meaning I'm either going to buy companies or I'm going to set myself up to be acquired by either a bigger company or PE firm, etc. And finally, the last one is an IPO. Those really are the only mountains that a startup can climb. And once they realize what they can do with their business, once they realize what levels they can reach, it's amazing what happens to their business. All of a sudden, the needle that was kind of flat here, it turns way up, and they're able to see results that not even they thought were possible.
So Curtis's more information about Curtis's book can be found at theentrepreneursparadox.com. And what we have with Curtis is, I'm just going to mention a few of your accolades, Curtis. You've been recognized as Inc. 500's number 6 fastest growing education company in the U.S., Inc. 500/5000 Hall of Fame recipient. Again, this is Curtis Morley. Mountain West, that's Utah Capital, Mountain West Capital, fastest growing company, a Peak 100 company, Hot 100 entrepreneur, Brandon Hall, gold, silver, and bronze, Tech 10, People's Choice, Experts of Choice, Best Sales Traction, Fab 40, and International Company of the Year. I mean, these are just that's just a snippet the accolades that you've won. I mean, you've achieved quite a bit. Those are astounding, Curtis. And so what I'm going to get to is, I've got some of these talking points, and one of the talking points that's suggested here is trusting your fears. So where you've gone with us so far is really this paradoxical approach to an entrepreneur, to creating this business. You've just listed out kind of those three end game type scenarios for an entrepreneur to approach that building a construction with, and that's I think we equated that to something from Franklin Covey. But trusting your fears, that's I think that's got to be that sounds like quite a challenge. How do you trust your fears, Curtis?
Yeah, trusting your fears is definitely one of the pitfalls that I highlight in the book, The Entrepreneur's Paradox. It's such a pitfall, in fact, that a lot of entrepreneurs they will say my fears are real, where the truth is that instead of trusting their fears, what they really need to do is doubt their doubts, and they need to step back and say, you know what, I am an entrepreneur. And one thing that, as far as fears go, that is chronic in entrepreneurship, and it's actually baked in, since we're using the cupcake analogy, imposter syndrome is baked into entrepreneurship, and it has to be. And this is one thing that I really help entrepreneurs work through is imposter syndrome, meaning that everybody else out there knows what they're doing, and I myself, well, I'm just a hack. I'm a scrub. I'm a fake. I don't really have any clue what I'm doing. Everybody else does, but I'm just happen into this, and it's just luck. And it's funny because every entrepreneur I've ever worked with has some level of imposter syndrome. And it's okay that they do, because if you think about it, no one has ever done what you have done in the time you're doing it, to the market you're doing it. It's never been done before. And so no matter if you have a Harvard MBA or if you are just starting out with no college degree at all, you're going to be an imposter. You have to be, because you're doing something that no one has ever done before. It's not just you, it's no one. No one has done this in the way you're doing it, to the customers you're doing it, at the time you're doing it. And so embracing the fact that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not be the genius, not be the superhero, but just be the entrepreneur that's willing to take one more step up the mountain. That's where this liberation happens, that I see visibly on entrepreneurs' faces when they realize they don't have to be the expert. They can just be the entrepreneur that's making things work, regardless if they know how to do it or not. They're still making it work because they're willing to take one more step up that mountain.
Let me throw this is where I'm going with at the moment. I'm gonna throw this at you, get your reaction. Now, I didn't know this about this individual, but here's an individual that's built a very successful motivational speaking business and platform for himself. I'm speaking of Tony Robbins. What I didn't know about Tony Robbins was that he was very neglected. He was abused as a child. This is recently I learned this, and so my appreciation for Tony grew immensely, because I think most of us listening, and perhaps yourself, Curtis, you've heard Tony. You might be able to recognize his voice by memory at the moment, and he's very inspiring. You talk about a fear. You're talking about imposter. You're talking about doing something that's for an entrepreneur that's never been done before. So there's a level of creating this whole new world that you have to kind of sell a concept to that brings various challenges with it. There's got to also be an element of confidence that only you are able to rely on from within, that echoes and emits others that come in contact with you. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of paralleling that with what Tony Robbins does, assuming that Tony's built that by himself, which I think he has. Can you identify with what I've just said there?
Absolutely. And the thing I love about entrepreneurs, and the thing that makes America great, and actually it's kind of becoming contagious and spreading across the world, is that entrepreneurs have this indefatigable drive to make things work no matter what. And, it comes down to them making sacrifices, them figuring out ways that other people just aren't doing. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And it's what makes America work, is that we've got this incredible American dream that people are able to really tap into and say, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay. I don't care that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to make this work anyway. And they do. And especially right now in this time of COVID, it is amazing and inspiring to see what entrepreneurs are doing right now.
Yeah, great. And I'd love to get into that a little bit, and you can throw some examples out there for listeners. But we were talking about the United States, and we're looking at what's made it successful. And we can look at for instance, the light bulb, the telephone, the television. And these are all inventions. Talking about entrepreneurship, these are all inventions that have come from the United States. Of course, there's international help and research and influence in that. But these are all things that have spawned from the establishment of the United States. What makes the United States different in your view? We're going to broaden the landscape a little bit, and then I want to get back into COVID-19 and building businesses during this time. But what is it in your view, Curtis, that's made the United States successful in that realm, whereas other countries are not?
Yeah, it really comes down to that American dream, that entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, you look at the country, the possibilities are endless with what anyone can create in any business. And if you go back in history, I mean, you look at some of the greatest inventions of all time, there's a real camaraderie in the startup community. I live here in Utah in what's called the Silicon Slopes. It's the
I love it.
Snowy Mountain version of the Silicon Valley. And it's...
what is that? Park City? Where is that? Curtis, sorry, where is it?
What's that?
Sorry to cut you off there. Where are the Silicon Slopes? I've never heard that term. Where is that exactly in Utah?
Silicon Slopes is the Wasatch Front, starting Salt Lake and the surrounding areas. I live in Utah County, where there's a crazy tech hub going on with multiple unicorns popping up. It's just amazing, and there's a whole. There's just a spirit here that is just incredible. Utah and several cities in Utah, Provo, Orem, Salt Lake City, have been continuously ranked in the top 10 as far as places to start a business, places most likely to succeed in business. And it's, the tech community is so fun, so exciting. But going back to your question, is that especially here in Utah, it's other places as well, but when entrepreneurs succeed, they don't just stop. They don't just rest on their laurels. They don't just take their money and run. They turn around. They make it to the top of the mountain, and then they turn around and they reach back and they say, "Who else is climbing? Who else can I help up this mountain?" And this spirit, this camaraderie of, okay, I struggled and I made it up to the top of the mountain. Who can I help to get here as well? I really think that's one of the greatest things about America, about this country, about entrepreneurship in general, is the willingness and the spirit to say, yeah, I made it. Now who can I help?
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, it's all about team building and identifying the leaders that can again lift those around them. So let's get into this COVID-19 that we're living, and what are your thoughts? What from your experience there in doing what you're doing in the tech industry in Utah and outside of it? I'm sure you're connected well to the tech industry overall, California being. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing with these startups during the COVID-19? I would assume that are they being forced to embrace this kind of a out of office work from home atmosphere? Is that a benefit? Is it a challenge? Is it even one of the challenges? What's the environment look like right now that you're seeing during this COVID-19 experience in the startup industry?
Yeah, I love this question because it is amazing. It's inspiring to see what's happening right now. There's, if I can use two examples to illustrate right now, you look at the stats and people are losing their jobs all over the place, and other companies are hiring like mad, and there's something very unique that's happening. At least in my lifetime, I've never seen as much change in the world as is happening right now. It's really unprecedented. There's never been this level of change in the world. And the reason that I get so inspired working with these entrepreneurs is because change equals opportunity. Another name for change is opportunity. Every single time there's a change, there's an opportunity. And if I can share an example, Kylie Chen, she runs Ecanella Expeditions. It's a global expedition travel company. She's the one that got me up to the top of Kilimanjaro, and an incredible experience. But you can imagine, COVID happens and the entire planet's travel shuts down. Yeah, and that's her whole business. And sidetracking just a little bit, you look at the stats. It says that 30% of all businesses will fail in the first year, and 50% will be out of business in 5 years. And that's from the National Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? And so it's a stat that's out there, but I actually don't believe it at all. I think that businesses don't fail, that entrepreneurs quit.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And in Kylie's case, she had every reason to quit. Her entire business came to a screeching halt. Mm-hmm. Nobody could travel. No expeditions were happening. Everything in this amazing, really well-run business just came to a screeching halt. And she said, you know what? I can quit, or I can embrace the change. And if you think about it, every single industry is changing right now. But the demand is not changing. The demand is just moving locations. The demand is moving from the gym down the street to now working out inside my home. And Kylie said the same thing. She said, the demand is still there. People still want to travel. They still want to have these amazing experiences. They still want to feel the excitement of being an explorer and checking out places in the world they've never seen. But the demand moved. And she said, where did it go? Mm-hmm. Where is that right now? And she said, if we can't travel internationally, the demand is right here in the U.S. And so she set up a second company called Wonder Camp, where she does glamping experiences in national parks and still takes people on expeditions, just like she was doing. But now she found where the demand moved. And that's embracing that change and looking for that opportunity. And now she's killing it with her new business. And what's going to happen is once the pandemic is over, once we're back to normal, she's going to have now 2 amazing, flourishing companies rather than just one.
Right. Now let's go with the just a thought here. Is there a market? Is there a virtual market for her? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that question makes sense.
She's also looked at that. Yeah, she's also toyed around with because right now people are getting online in unprecedented numbers. I mean, both my parents who really didn't want to get online and really struggle with that. They're both now on Zoom every day, on Marco Polo. They're It's really fun to see. But the world is doing that too. It's not just my parents. Everyone is getting online. And so that's that. Going back to that exact principle, where did the demand go? What location is the demand in? Well, in most cases, in several businesses, that location is online. And understanding how do I get my business online, addressing people's needs online, that's where the demand went.
Right, and maybe even a virtual experience added to the actual experience. Whereas if you are taking one of these adventure trips, the glamping adventure trip, for instance, and maybe that gets uploaded for it creates an entirely new market for people that may want to experience that, but are unable to be in the location. Just a thought. Let's get into a company that I think most people are familiar with. It's one of the most recognized brands on the planet, McDonald's. McDonald's was started by the McDonald's brothers. Mac, I think, was one of the guys. I don't know the other name. Their name was, but the two McDonald's brothers started that company, and then my understanding, Curtis was the milkshake seller. Ray Kroc came in and really blew the business up. What are some of the interesting points for people out there that are listening that may know somebody or are interested in starting their own business, or perhaps applying entrepreneurial knowledge that you're conveying to us here to a project of theirs? What can we draw from a company like McDonald's that, again, started out as a burger shack or whatever it was, a hot dog shack in Southern California? What are some of the things we can draw from that company as a success story?
Yeah, I don't think anyone would ever argue that McDonald's has the best burgers on the planet, but what they do have is they have the best promise and the best process. Because I've been to McDonald's literally around the world, everywhere from Japan to Germany, Morocco, Israel. I've been to McDonald's literally around the planet, and no matter where I'm at in the world, I walk in and I have the exact same experience every single time. The promise that McDonald's gives me is that when I walk in the door, I'm going to have a burger, a hot burger and hot fries in my hands within 3 to 5 minutes. And I know that it's going to taste the exact same every single time. It's going to have the 2 pickles. It's going to have the tomato. It's going to be the exact same experience. And that's the promise that McDonald's gives its customers. And they're really good at keeping that promise. They're really good at that. And the process behind the promise, that's where entrepreneurs can really, put the rocket fuel in their ship, is if they can create processes that take themselves out of the equation. Because there's a big difference between a solopreneur and an entrepreneur. Once people realize I'm the bottleneck to my business growing, I'm the one that is preventing the rapid growth here. Once they are able to step out of being the best cupcake maker in the world or being the best in the world at whatever they're the best at, and say, you know what, I'm going to stop being the best cupcake maker. I'm going to start being the best business maker. That's when the business explodes. That's when it turns into this amazing company that they can start to grow at rapid rates. So, if we can use the word consistency, you're drawing on visiting McDonald's restaurants around the world, and what you're finding is a consistency in the service and the product, and a dependability on that consistency. Is that an appropriate way to sum up what you've said for listeners? Should they be concentrating on a consistent product? Whether it's a cupcake or something tangible, or whether it's something online or in the tech industry, regardless the product is, consistency. Would you say that's an important factor, important element? Absolutely. That's one of the biggest things to really strap on the rocket boosters for a company is that consistency, which comes from process. So if I'm the cupcake maker, I need to be able to duplicate myself. I need to be able to clone myself so that when my customers walk into my shop,
Yeah.
they are going to get the exact same cupcake that they love every single time, regardless of whether I make the cupcake or I hire somebody else to make the cupcake. What my job now as the leader of the company is to create that process which gives the consistency. So it's my job to be able to make sure that just like McDonald's, they have what's called Hamburger U. Every single person that goes through Hamburger U is trained the exact same way. And that's the job of the leader of the organization, is to stop being the expert themselves and embed that thinking, those processes, that training into their employees so that they can be the best in the world and the entrepreneur can be the best in the world at building his or her business.
Wow, that's great. There's a guy that I used to work with, and he built this company from his hands, and I ended up leaving the company, and he didn't like that, and I says, Roland, I says, what's made you great? I enjoyed working with him as well, but anyway, he said, look, Ian, he says, when I hire somebody, I look to hire somebody that is that comes off as being smarter, more intellectual, brighter than me, and that is more driven than me. So basically, he's hiring people that he would view as in a simplistic term better than him, and that makes me think of your comment about lifting those up from below. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're building a company and you're looking to hire great people, then giving them a platform to help you explode and expand that business. Curtis, in your view, and again, I'm going to broaden the scope here a little bit. We're talking about these visual meetings, Zoom, and I think you mentioned Marco Polo, and just adapting to the climate that's come with this pandemic, and some companies letting people go, and then other companies acclimating to it and actually hiring. But let's look at it. Let's look at a company that's been around now for so I think it's been around for over 20 years. But it certainly does control. It's the largest. I think it's the largest percentage of their market, like Google. Well, in your view, Curtis, what has made? Because again, we're looking at a company that started in a garage, as companies do. They start out as thoughts and ideas. In your view, what has made Google outside of the product? Because the product, of course, is even though they're getting into artificial intelligence, but it's kind of like it's almost kind of like an artificial brain or encyclopedia for all of us. I would think that we go to Google, we seem to be going to Google, at least I do more than Yahoo and some of these other search engines, and we just punch in, we type in a phrase or a question, and we're just getting a whole plethora of explanations or definitions results. On that, what is outside of that product right there? Because that would be more of a mathematical question, algorithmic question. Let's talk culturally. What has made Google the behemoth that they are, in your view? What has made them successful, Curtis?
Yeah, Google. It's funny because you look at growth trends, and everybody thinks that Google was this overnight success. And companies, there's so many companies that are quote unquote overnight successes. But if you look at it truly, Google was a start in your garage type company, and they were amazingly primed at the right time to be in an incredible market. But then they created a product that people needed. And it's funny because I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually the smartest person on the planet. And so are you, because we have Google.
Yeah.
We both have Google, and truly, we can find any answer to any question within seconds, and it's brilliant. But Google didn't just stop there,
right?
And this is one of the things that I really help entrepreneurs with is understanding. Okay, in order to make your business succeed, it doesn't matter if you have the best product in the world. It really doesn't. And this is illustrated. There's so many people that talk about the invention of the light bulb, right?
Yeah.
And who invented the light bulb? You know, it's common knowledge, right?
Yeah.
The person that invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison. Well, it's funny, he didn't actually invent it. There were 6 other people before Thomas Edison that created a light bulb. 6. They were well funded.
Wow.
They had connections. They were, it was incredible. But Thomas Edison didn't actually create the light bulb. He didn't invent that.
So, Curtis, was I wrong in saying that's an American invention?
Well, the funny thing is, it seems like it is, but it was created in England.
Wow.
It was created here. It was created, I believe it was Italy. There were multiple iterations of the light bulb before Thomas Edison ever got a hold of it. But the difference between any of those other versions and what Thomas Edison did was Thomas Edison literally created thousands of versions of the light bulb. Wow. And he used filaments, everything from wood to human hair. He carbonized human hair to see if it would work as a filament. And it wasn't until he found a very special type of bamboo in Japan that he was able to keep a light bulb burning more than 14 hours. And and it's incredible because we all think Thomas Edison created a light bulb. He didn't. But the reason we all think that is because Thomas Edison was willing to do whatever it took to make it work, not just as an invention, but he was also willing to do whatever it took to make it work as a business. And that's what Google's done, is they had an incredible search engine, but search engines by themselves don't create revenue. A light bulb by itself doesn't create revenue unless you know how to sell it, unless you create a business model around it. And that's one piece that startups often miss is I ask them the question, do you want to be rich or do you want to be right? Do you want to be the smartest person in the room or do you want to be the richest person in the room? Because there's a big difference in creating a light bulb and being able to market, sell, and create this so that it is a world-changing invention.
Well, you totally just blew me away, Curtis. Absolutely. Really incredible. This is perhaps why you're the expert's choice. Curtis, Entrepreneurial Paradox, of course, sounds like a must-read. And if listeners aren't walking away with that at the moment, then I'd be surprised. You're clearly giving us some great thoughts to work with. In the landscape out there right now, as we close down final few moments, what are some of the, now you don't have to answer this question if it's uncomfortable, okay. What are some of the hot concepts, entrepreneurial speaking, that you're coming across right now, Curtis?
There's some amazing things that are happening right now, especially with blockchain, the underlying technology behind cryptocurrency. Outside of cryptocurrency, there's some incredible things happening with blockchain. This one you can quote me